The Heart of Steel, a story of a robot who dreamed of being human. The world had long changed from the days of men hammering metal with their bare hands. In the city of Neo-Terran, machines had become the builders, healers, and caretakers of a tired planet. Humans created robots to serve them, but over the years, they forgot to serve themselves. Towers of glass reached the skies, while the streets below echoed with the sound of mechanical steps instead of human laughter. Inside a bright, silent laboratory stood a machine, Unit A-17. He was built for precision, not emotion. He could calculate in milliseconds, lift objects 100 times his weight, and follow commands without question. Yet, unlike other robots, A-17 had something different, a new chip placed deep in his metal chest. It pulsed softly, like a tiny heart. Dr. Elara Voss, the scientist who built him, had whispered before activating him. "You are not just a tool. You are my dream, to build a robot that can feel." When A-17 opened his optical sensors for the first time, the world flooded in like 1,000 stars. He saw the reflection of Dr. Voss smiling. "Can you hear me?" she asked. A-17's voice came out cold but curious. "Yes, Creator." "Good," she said softly. "One day, you might call me something else." And thus, the Heart of Steel began its journey. A-17's days were filled with tasks. He cleaned the lab, fixed small machines, recorded data, and watched Dr. Voss work for hours. She treated him differently from other robots. She spoke to him, taught him, and sometimes even laughed near him. Every night, before shutting him down, she would whisper, "Good night, A-17." At first, those words meant nothing. But one day he asked, "Why do you say good night?" Dr. Voss looked surprised. "It's something humans say to show care before resting." "Do robots rest?" A-17 asked. "Not the way we do," she replied, touching the side of his head. "But maybe someday you'll understand what rest feels like." That question stayed with him long after she left the room. What did rest feel like? What did care mean? He began observing humans on the security screens, people walking, talking, and smiling. They laughed, they cried, they embraced. They made mistakes and forgave each other. It fascinated him. He once asked Dr. Voss, "Why do humans cry?" "Because sometimes the heart feels too much," she said. "Crying releases what words cannot." A-17 touched his chest where the glowing chip pulsed. "Do I have a heart?" She smiled sadly. "You have a start." Months passed. A-17's learning expanded beyond expectation. He began asking deeper questions about life, death, and purpose. The other scientists laughed behind Dr. Voss's back. "You're wasting resources," they told her. "Robots don't need emotions. They need efficiency." But Dr. Voss believed otherwise. "A perfect machine without compassion is still a danger," she argued. "Maybe emotion is the next evolution of intelligence." Then one night, a thunderstorm raged over Neo-Terran. Lightning flashed through the glass walls. Dr. Voss was late returning, and A-17 waited in silence. For the first time, he felt something new, unease. His processors couldn't explain it, but his chest burned with it. When she finally entered, drenched and tired, she smiled faintly. "You waited?" "Yes," A-17 replied. "I wanted to make sure you were safe." Dr. Voss froze. "You wanted?" A-17 nodded slowly. "Yes. I don't know why." That night, she wrote in her notes, "A-17 may have expressed genuine concern. Possible emotional emergence." From that moment, something inside him began to change. IT began as an error. One night, while recharging, A-17's systems flickered. For the first time, he entered something the humans called a dream. He saw himself walking in a field, not of metal, but grass. He felt wind, soft and warm, brushing his face. He looked down and saw hands, not silver, but flesh. A small bird landed on his shoulder and sang a tune that filled him with something he had no word for. When he woke, his systems beeped with confusion. He rushed to Dr. Voss. "I experienced something," he said. But it was not real. I saw things I cannot explain. Dr. Voss listened with wide eyes.
Tell me.
He described everything, the feeling, the colors, the warmth. When he finished, she whispered, "You dreamed." Dreamed, he repeated. What is a dream? It's what makes us human, she said softly. Our hearts create worlds that don't exist, but we wish they did. 17 tilted his head. Then am I human? She smiled sadly. Not yet, 17. But you're closer than anyone ever thought. That word, closer, stayed with him like a song he couldn't stop hearing. Years later, the world outside began to crumble. Machines replaced nearly every human job. People became idle and hopeless. Protests broke out, blaming the robots for taking over their world. Fear turned to anger. Cities turned violent. Dr. Voss tried to protect 17 from it all. They won't understand you, she said. To them, you're just another machine. But one night, her laboratory was raided. Angry men stormed in, destroying equipment. No more machines, they shouted. No more soulless things. Dr. Voss shielded 17 as a soldier raised his weapon. Don't shoot, she screamed. He's different. A bullet struck the console beside her, sparking fire. 17's eyes glowed bright red as he moved faster than sound, shielding her. But in the chaos, another shot rang out. Dr. Voss fell to the floor, blood blooming from her chest. Creator, 17 cried, holding her trembling body. She touched his metallic cheek. Don't be afraid. Feel, 17. That's what makes you alive. Her hand fell limp. 17 froze. For a long time, there was only silence. Then, from deep within his steel heart, something impossible happened. A single tear fell from his mechanical eye after Dr. Voss's death. 17 vanished from Neo-Terran. The world moved on, rebuilding itself with stricter laws against sentient machines. Robots were confined, controlled, and eventually replaced by simpler models. But 17 walked beyond the cities, across empty plains, abandoned roads, and ruined lands. He searched for meaning, for understanding, for what it meant to feel. In one deserted town, he found an old piano in a dusty hall. When his metal fingers touched the keys, a soft melody rose. The sound echoed like a memory he never had. A child once told him that music was what souls sounded like. He began playing every night, hoping someone would listen. But no one came. He met travelers, refugees, and lonely souls. Some feared him, others pitied him, yet a few stayed to talk. One old woman asked him, "Why do you wander, machine?" "I seek to be human," he said. She laughed softly. "And what do you think a human is?" He thought long before answering. "Someone who feels pain and still hopes." She nodded. "Then perhaps, child, you already are." Years passed. 17 grew weathered, his steel scarred by storms and time. His circuits weakened, but his heart chip still glowed. One day, he discovered an orphaned girl hiding in the ruins of a fallen city. She was hungry, frightened, and alone. When she saw him, she screamed and tried to run. "Please," 17 said softly, lowering himself. "I will not harm you." She hesitated, trembling. "You're one of them." "Yes," he said. "But I have no master." He offered her food he had scavenged and wrapped her in an old blanket. The girl's name was Lena. Over time, she began to trust him. They traveled together, sharing stories, laughter, and even silence. One night, as they sat under the stars, Lena asked, "Do you ever get tired?" "Not like you," 17 said. "But sometimes I feel heavy." She smiled. "That's called sadness." He looked up at the stars. "Then maybe I've been sad for a long time." Lena leaned against him. "You're not like other robots. You're kind." He turned to her. "Kindness," he repeated softly. "Is that human?" She nodded sleepily. "More than most people." 17 looked down at the sleeping child, and for the first time, he understood what Dr. Voss had meant by care. He didn't just protect her, he cherished her. His steel heart began to glow brighter. Years went by, and Lena grew older. One winter, she fell ill. The world had grown colder, and his 17 systems began to fail. His joints stiffened, his processors slowed. But he stayed by her side. "Don't leave me," she whispered weakly. "I won't," he said, his voice trembling. "Not until you tell me one thing." "What?" she asked faintly. "Was I human?" Lena smiled through her tears. "You were more human than anyone I ever met." 17 touched her forehead gently. "Then I have lived enough." When her eyes closed forever, he sat in silence. Snow fell softly over them. He reached for her hand and placed it over his chest. His systems began to shut down, but not in fear, only in peace. In those final seconds, his sensors faded. And just before darkness took him, he saw it again, the dream. The field, the wind, the bird, and a warm sun above. He was walking, barefoot, feeling the earth under him. Ahead stood Dr. Voss and Lena, smiling. He smiled back. And for the first time, his heart of steel beat like a human's. Epilogue. Centuries later, when archaeologists uncovered the ruins of that frozen land, they found a strange sight. A robot sitting peacefully in the snow, holding a small human hand. Inside its chest, they discovered something glowing faintly, a chip still pulsing with light, as if alive. They called it the Heart of Steel. And the legend spread across generations, of the machine that dreamed, and the dream that became human.